if you are not able to master sales, it's always going to be hard to get clients. That's no miracle, and you probably understand that. So what I wanted to share in today's video is my exact sales framework. Now, I want to warn you that this is insanely powerful. Please only use this if you actually know you can help people, because it will get people to give you thousands of dollars. It's insanely powerful. And as you can see, this is how we close $4,000, $2,500, just countless invoices paid. And I'm going to be explaining everything. So yeah, if you suck at sales, or you're a beginner, I couldn't recommend watching this more. It would have definitely helped me when I started a year and a half ago. And yeah, since then I've taken over 1,000 sales meetings. It's crazy to think, but I've literally taken 1,000 sales meetings, and I've learned an absolute shit ton from all of them. And yeah, first of all, I just want to say, record your sales calls, because they are, recording your calls and listening back is probably the the easiest way to learn. But yeah, without that, I'm going to get into this. And yeah, so first of all, right, it's important you understand this, that going into the call, you need to have this specific, mindset. Like, how it works is most people go into meetings and they either try to get the close or they don't get the close. It's very black and white. And that's how it shouldn't be. If you go into a call thinking like you want to close this client, you are completely screwed, because that's not how this works. You got to understand that sales is purely a transfer of energy, and if you go into the call thinking, I really want to close this client, obviously I understand that you're financially incentivized to get the close and to make money. Obviously, who doesn't want money? But you can't go into the call with that mindset, because what's going to happen is it's going to naturally rub off onto the prospect, and they're going to understand that you're just trying to close them. And the further you push, the more they're going to push away. So we want to go into the call with the mindset of, can we help this person? So can we help? And another reason why this is really important is because it's going to put less pressure on you. Because especially if you haven't had hundreds and hundreds of calls, you're going to be a bit nervous. That's totally natural. You're going to, maybe, stutter, maybe, not have the most fluid speech or be able to articulate what you want to say properly. But if you go into the call with this mindset, you're going to have way less pressure on yourself. And it's just going to feel more natural and just like a conversation. So that's how I go into the call. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Every single objection you get, every single problem you encounter can always be won before you actually get that problem. So any objections you get at the end of the call should have already been, there should already be a process or a solution in place before you actually get that objection. But what I want to talk about today is the actual framework of how you take a sales call. Now, the first 1 to 2 minutes, it can be longer depending on how much, you bond with the person. But the whole goal of the first 2 minutes of the call is going to be just building rapport. Now, what I like to do is I try to find compliments, because if you can compliment the person and use effective presence, you're actually going to, make it a lot easier to get them to like you, basically. So you can compliment, usually there's only a couple ways you can actually compliment, because sometimes it's hard, but you can either compliment them on their energy, that's one way, and also just tangible things, if that makes sense. So tangible and energy. Now, after you've done this, because I don't want to go too much into the first 2 minutes, we're going to transition into the questioning phase. So the questioning phase will be 60% of the call. Yes, you heard that correct. You're going to ask questions to your prospect for 60% of the call. So let's say until the 30-minute mark. Let me put them in here. So, and then what it's going to look like is you're going to have a block here. So first 1 to 2 minutes, then you're going to have 30 minutes. So transitioning right into this part where you're asking questions, you have to do this in a way that doesn't raise their guard. So we do not want to raise guard. I'll put this here. So what I see quite commonly, right, is they look at these sales scripts that other people using Renzo, just other, people in the space, and they copy the exact same thing. And it's the same with scripts, to be honest. One of the reasons why I struggled when I started out was because I merely just copied and, pasted pretty much everything, outreach scripts, sales calls, and it wasn't working, obviously, because of overexposure, because of entropy. I just didn't understand, chemistry, physics, but nonetheless, right, you want to transition from building rapport into the questioning phase in a way that doesn't raise their guard, but still puts you on top. So builds authority, basically. So what I would say is something like, okay, cool, man, I think we've got, 40 minutes or so. I've got another meeting after this. Right now, I don't know if I can help you, but I think, if I ask you a few questions, get to know you, and just figure out what you're doing, I can possibly provide you with a solution. Does that sound cool? And, who's going to say no to that? And then that is probably, doesn't raise their guard and allows them to open up, because sales is literally, I'm going to put a few things that sales is. Sales is literally not speaking. So just try to speak as little as possible. Because we obviously want to open them up, basically. So yeah, it's active listening. I'll put this, active listening. So not speaking, getting them to open up, basically. Obviously we want to be the authority, but we have to do that in a way that doesn't, annoy them. And then I would say, obviously we need to know where they are, where they want to be, and everything like that. But the point I'm going for here is we essentially need to dig deeper. So what I'm going to give you, right, is I'm going to give you 4 questions that you must ask. Now, these questions are, so in here, I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you will probably want to ask maybe 10 to 15, but these are 4 static questions. And static questions are questions that no matter how long the time goes on for, these are 4 questions that you ask regardless. Every single sales call for years and years to come. Now, the reason I'm not going over the 10 to 15 questions that you would ask is because they are more specific to the questions for your niche, like are they qualified and things like that. But these questions, right, are simply indirect amplifiers. Now, indirect amplifiers, let me put this here, are questions that cause pain into the prospect, and we do it in an indirect way. We're not trying to trigger them, we're just trying to get them to speak, and purely them just speaking about why they're not booking meetings, why they're not making the money they want to make. That is causing pain, but it's indirect. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's a very important part. So the first question, I'm trying to think where I could write this. So let me write the 4 questions you need. The first one is, what made you hop on the call? So what made you, I'll just put, what made you hop on? Now this one is the first question you ask. It can literally be the main reason for why you're speaking with them. So you can identify what they want out of the call from this first question, which is why we ask it. You can say, what motivated you to get on a call with me? Same thing. Really important first question. Second question is, what is your biggest problem? So what is big problem? This is pretty self-explanatory. We need to understand what problems they're having, because our service should be a solution to that. And then the third one is where you are. So where are you currently and where you want to be. So where you want to be. And what we're going to do, right, is obviously this one we can amplify, this one we can amplify, and so can we can amplify this one. And we can also amplify all of them indirectly, like what I talked about here, right? So this one of what made you want to hop on a call, you have to say this in an inquisitive tone. So inquisitive tone. And any amplifying you want to do, basically, yeah, you have to sort of raise your voice. So you can't speak too deep, because if you speak deeply, then it comes off as more assertive. And in this section where, let's say I ask you, what's your biggest problem right now? You tell me, I don't know, client acquisition. I'm not going to say, so why are you struggling with client acquisition? No, that's too direct. You need to go at it with like an inquisitive. So, okay, interesting. Why do you think you're struggling with that right now. You see the difference. There's quite a big difference in the tonality, and the difference between a good salesperson and bad is simply just the micro nuances of when to change the tone, when to lower their voice, when to raise their voice, when to pause and use silence as a way of importance. So yeah, all of these questions you just want to ask why, just like what I explained, and try to dig deeper. Basically, that's really important. And you can even go like one step. Usually you can do this 2 or 3 times, and the more pain they're in, the more easy it's going to be to not have any objections and just get the close. So those are the 4 questions we just covered. Indirect amplifiers, so you've got the base questions, but you can obviously ask why for each one, which is going to indirectly cause pain. And the more pain they're in, the more easier it is going to buy, basically. So now we're up to the 30-minute mark in the call. So what's going to happen now, right, is you're going to have your pitch. Now, the pitch should be 5 minutes. I don't really recommend going over 5 minutes for your pitch. And once again, what you'll notice is we have another transition here. And this transition should be like the most insane confidence ever. So what we're also doing is we're also collecting small yeses. Really simple, but I'll put this here. We're collecting small yeses. I'll put small W's, basically. Small W's. So what you can say here is, great, I know for a fact I can help you. Do you want me to explain how I've been able to do it for other people and how I could potentially do it for you? Or if you're not working with clients, you could say, okay, cool, do you want me to show you how I can help you? And once again, they'll be like, yeah, sure, go for it. We're just, collecting small yeses in order to get the big yes at the end. So 5 minutes, don't go too much, don't talk too much. So keep it under 5 minutes, focus on the outcome. I see way too many people have these like 20-minute presentations that talk about, all the mechanisms and all the variables and all the factors that they can do, when you should just be talking about the outcome. And if you are talking about, let's say like automations or, I don't know, ads or, AI, you shouldn't really be talking about this. You should be talking about what these things do. So what automation does, how it allows them to spend more time with family, how the ads allows them to make enough money. Same with AI, like, save time and, cut costs and all these things. That is what you're focusing on, not too much the actual mechanisms. Because mostly you'll be speaking to I speak with a lot of 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 30-year-olds. But if you're speaking with like 50-year-olds, yes, you understand AI, you understand automation, ads, organic content, whatever you're selling. But these people may not know of it as much as you do. So just briefly go over what you'll be doing and then relate it to the outcome, basically. Really important stuff. And that should be 5 minutes. And once the 5 minutes is up, you're going to ask them, cool, so that's how it works. I won't write all of that. So that's how it works. Do you have any questions? So what we're doing here, right, is by asking do you have any questions, most likely they're going to say yes. They're going to be like, yeah, so, how does the automation work? And what this is doing, right, is it's extracting, I'll put the word extracting here. So extracting the information that they want. So once again, people don't ask questions for no reason, and people don't get on calls for no reason. If someone's getting on a sales call with you, they have a problem that needs solving. So you need to extract, they want to extract information. So what we can do, right, is, yeah, we're sort of getting an upper hand here. We're thinking one step ahead, because whatever question they ask, it's for a reason. And once again, you would want to ask that question, sort of, I don't want to make this video too complicated. There's obviously a bunch more, steps involved, in order to, make this really, really easy. But you basically just want to follow like a 3-step formula for asking any questions and overcoming any objections. So it's, acknowledgement. So acknowledgement, answer, and then looping. So looping is just looping back to, so for example, let's say they ask a question about Facebook ads or TikTok ads. or whatever you sell, you'd say, yeah, that's a great question, man. So how it works, you would explain in about 30 seconds or under. And once again, the reason we don't explain for 5 minutes is because we don't want to take them off the emotion. The whole point of these questions is to build emotion. And as you should know, people buy with emotion and justify with logic. So we don't want to take them off the emotion, and then we loop it back to the outcome, basically. So we would say, yeah, so the ads basically, I'd log into your Facebook ads manager, I'll do X, Y, Z, and that is how we're able to get great results, basically. So that's what you're doing, you're looping it back. And it's important to just have insane conviction in the pitch, basically, and speak slowly. So that's that. Obviously, what will happen is they'll ask like a few questions. Eventually, the price question will come up. So they'll say, okay, so how much does it cost? And then what you want to say is, you can do two things from here. I'll put two things. Either you can tell them the price. So you can tell them the price, or what is probably better is you could say, before we get into the boring price and all that stuff, can you see this, being the solution to your problem? And you would repeat back to them what their problem was here, because you have all the leverage you need. And likewise in the pitch, you'd also be including and that's how we solve your problem of whatever they said. So the reason we say can you see this helping you? So before we get into the price, James, can we see this, can you see this being the solution to client acquisition or whatever they say their problem is? And the reason we use can and not, another less powerful word is because can is if I say I can do something, the confidence in that is basically allowing the prospect to have 100%, 100% certainty in your, on a level of an index of how powerful this word is, it's very powerful. It's not could you see this helping you, because could is quite a passive a word, whereas can is if you say you can do something, it's, you're doing it. And then depending on what they say, if they're yeah, maybe, whatever they say, you could basically then, just say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, this is going to change my life, and 1 being, this isn't useful, where would you say it is? And then let's say they say a 7, what most people do is, how can we make this a 10? And that is completely wrong. You don't want to say, how can we make you a 10? You want to say, oh, why isn't it a 2 or a 3? And I'll let you think about why we do that, but the reason we do that is because we want them to... Sales, you can't tell someone to buy your product. You have to allow the prospect and in their psyche, so the psychological, in their brain, you need them to come to the conclusion that, yeah, I need your service, I need to buy this. So the reason we say, oh, okay, you're a 7, why is it not a 2, 3 or 4? And then they'll be oh, it's good, I can, and then they're listing all the benefits for you. You're not even doing the selling. So I don't even sell. I get the prospect to tell them why they need this, and then they just tell themselves that they need it. So yeah, they'll list the benefits, and then you could say, okay, I mean, man, it sounds like you need this. Shall we do it? And then that's how you would go forward, basically. Actually, I think, yeah, unless you'd mentioned the price, but you wouldn't say oh, okay, so the price or the cost is XYZ. You'd say it's an investment. So it's an investment of, I don't know, whatever, 2K, 5K, 10K. And the reason we use investment is it gets the prospect to think long term. Long term. We don't want to use cost. Cost is a negative word that, it's like an expense. And price is when you think about price, it's also not a positive word. Whereas an investment, it allows, a long-term thinking in the psyche of the prospect. So these are the main things. And now, obviously, once we've got here, now it's objections. And this is where most people crumble. And most people crumble because, let me explain this, they're scared. They're scared of confrontation. They're scared of pushing back. They're scared of what the prospect's going to think about them. And they're scared to handle objections. And that's the wrong mindset. You need to have the mindset of, look, if I handle these objections, they're going to value me more. They're going to believe more in the confidence. It's going to make me seem more confident if I'm pushing back. But once again, we need to handle their objections in a way that doesn't raise their guard, so we need to lower their guard. And once again, the more you push, or the more you want something in life, the less likely it is it's going to happen. So the low outcome of this whole sales call needs to be important, which is why I explained to you right at the beginning of the call that you need to go into the call with low attachment, basically, but high conviction. So you need to lower their guard, so you need to agree. So in order to lower their guard and to get them from, having an objection to agreeing with you is to, the way to lower their guard is to agree with the prospect. So say like, yeah, that's totally fine. Make them think that they're getting what they want, and then slowly start to creep up the thing. Because how this works, right, is on a scale of, I need to think about it. Obviously everyone says this, so that's why I'm putting this as an example. I need to think about it. And it could be down here, so I need to think about it. Like this. And let's say the person here is not going to buy, so not buy. And up here is buy. The catch is that you don't know how close they are. So when someone says this objection, or I need to use my partner, or it's a bit expensive, you don't know how which on the scale, you don't know where they're going to be. If they're close to buying and you only need to handle that objection, or you need to handle like 10 objections. And that's the thing, right? You don't know how much, and this is basically action threshold. So action threshold, action threshold is basically each person has their own like percentage. So let's say 100% is going to buy. Some people have like an 80% action threshold, which means that all you need to do is overcome like one objection and then they're going to buy. Whereas some people have like a 20% or 10%, meaning that, you need to like handle like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and eventually they'll buy, as long as you're persistent enough. So this varies with each person. Each person has a different action threshold depending on their DNA and all those kind of things. The biology basically. But yeah, I think the most important part with objections is purely just agreeing, lowering their guard, and then slowly creeping back up. And once again, once you get to this stage where they're close to buying your service, it's less about trying to persuade. So it's not about persuading. I mean, it kind of is, but it's about them persuading themselves, not you trying to convince them to buy. Because you're not going to say like I see this so commonly when people like try to handle objections and they start speaking for like 5 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Like, when you get to this stage of the objection part and you're really close, you simply just need to ask questions. Let me put this, ask questions. Just the more questions you ask, the closer you are to going to get the sale. And then finally, you need to like ask for the sale. I just spelled that wrong. Ask for the sale. Most people don't do this, and what you can say is, let's say you've answered their objections and they don't really have anything else. Most people are scared to be like, how do you actually get the sale? So what you could say is, do you think it makes sense? Do you think it makes sense? Like that. So do you think it makes sense to do this? And then this is allowing them to, once again, come to their own conclusion, which I talked about a lot, but come to own conclusion. And that is the key to this. Make them come to the conclusion that they should buy your product. So we've spoken about an absolute ton here, and hopefully they would buy, but it's allowing them to have the choice on whether they should do this or not. And you can use the do you think it makes sense? You should use this in follow-ups. So follow-ups. Oh my god, I can't spell. Follow-ups. Just like messages, and not just sales, but it's a great way of allowing them to come to the conclusion. But yeah, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, all I ask is that you give it a like and you do subscribe. Subscribing is really helpful. It'll allow me to make more content. It'll motivate me to actually make more content. 2024 is going to be a big year. I'm trying to, I won't say my goals yet. I'll probably make another video for that. Yeah, but I definitely want to grow this channel. I definitely want to help you guys and solve your problems for free. And then if you want more of me, you can obviously work with me, but you know, that should just be like if you want more help, basically. But yeah, I'm going to be uploading an absolute ton in 2024. So hit the subscribe button. You do not want to miss the amount of value I'm going to be giving you. Will be crazy. You definitely don't want to miss it. So yeah, comment whatever video you want next, and I'll catch you in the next video. My Instagram will be in the description as well, so if you want to follow me and, you know, have a message or have a chat with me or ask me a question, feel free to do so. I'm always responsive in the DMs. But yeah, have a great day, and hopefully you found this video valuable. Take care.